So, there is currently, if you are unaware of it, and I assume many people are because you're not terminally online like myself, a civil war within the GOP. And not within, like, the main political body, that kind of, to an extent, but we're not talking about that. Instead, we're talking about the current GOP civil war that is being waged uh, by conservative talking heads. And namely between Candace Owens and the Daily Wire. So, Candace Owens, for a long time, has been circling what I call the conspiracy singularity, right? She's talking about how, like, the feds raided Diddy's home because they were hiding evidence of, like, a sex trafficking ring instead of trying to bring him to justice. She's been talking about how the moon landing was fake. She's been talking about how there is, like, this she liked tweets involving Jewish blood libel conspiracy. She liked or she's been propagating ideas of all kinds of conspiracy theories. We covered one lately about the French first lady, where she basically used one source to back up an hour-long expose about how the French first lady was actually a trans woman, based on literally one piece of evidence, which was a website built by someone who is presumably, like, on the verge of, like, murdering their entire family with, like, poisoned Kool-Aid. That is literally just tens of thousands of words long. Like, it is a very lengthy document, and it is just full of anti-Semitic conspiracy theory about, like, how the Jews are transing important figures around the world. Like, it's crazy. And she's like, this guy really seemed to do his research, and, like, it's all great. 10,000 words, like every leftist meme. It's not even like 10,000 words. It's so many more words. It's so many more words. Don't you think that's important? Don't I think what's important? What do I think that it's important enough to talk about in a segment? Because that's what I'm doing. Why are you doing this? The stupid manifesto? Don't you think that's no? I don't think that it's important. I think it's the insane ramblings of a madman. And she took the insane ramblings of a madman and was just like, yes, this is hardcore evidence. And that, in turn, has effectively radicalized Candace Owens into a position where she is constantly edging a community of people that she has built up into more and more of a fervor. It's a real Alex Jones type situation. And, well, it turns out the Daily Wire has had enough of it. This is the co-founder of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, posting a few days ago. Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. And much like a romantic relationship that would be announced as ending in a similar way, it has, of course, gotten very weird after this. Notably, essentially, there is now an entire discourse happening and schism in the Republican online community, the conservosphere, if you will, about the phrase Christ is King, because Candace Owens used the phrase Christ is King in response to Ben Shapiro, and people were like, whoa, that's kind of like a crazy mask off anti-Semitic dog whistle there, Candace. And now you have two camps of people that neatly align along a single ideological line. Um, there is the Christ is King is sometimes an anti-Semitic dog whistle camp, which is true. And then you have the Christ is King is true and we should say it all the time camp. And if you might notice that the difference between these two camps is essentially that one of them is like conservative and the other one is Christian nationalist. You know, there's a big difference between the two. And yeah, the battle line has been drawn on this phrase, and it's very strange. Yeah, and by the way, Christ is King has been a dog whistle for a while, but not to the same extent as one might usually think. Like, it's contextual. Like if you say, you know, if someone says like you know, happy Hanukkah, and your response is Christ is King, that kind of indicates a lack of respect and kind of like an anti-Semitic stance, you know? Like contextually, the way you use that was anti-Semitic. And frankly, in case you guys are still not really sold on this concept, there is a famous poll slash poll meme from 4chan, basically talking about Christ as King. Like it's so famous that like it's a whole thing. Literally all of these replies. It's a lot, and you can actually still go to this post on 4chan, and a lot of the replies to this and about this are explicitly anti-Semitic. It's not hidden. This is like a thing, you know. And like being from like a fundamentalist religious background, I can tell you there are some people who do use it as an anti-Semitic dog whistle. I can tell you that. Specifically Christians who believe that like Jews are responsible for murdering Christ. There is a segment of Christianity that regards all Jewish people, past and present, as responsible for killing Jesus, and therefore their hatred of Jews is justified. That's an entire thing in Christian fundamentalism, right? And so this war between these factions has grown. This is a lady named Britta, and she is a voice on Freedom Tunes, so she is a conservative voice actress for explicitly conservative cartoons, saying, if you've been saved by Christ, that fact should breed humility in you, not pride. You're no better than anyone else. I'm not better than anyone else. Praise God every single day that he's forgiven you, and pray for the salvation of others. None of us deserve him. And like like Andrew Tate is in this now. Like Andrew Tate like tweeted out a couple days ago, as a Muslim it warms my heart to see the resurgence of spirited Christian declarations, Christ is King, which is just, he's such a silly dude. And Jeremy Boring responding, if you take cues about morality from a man who uses sex to manipulate women into doing pornography for his profit and then sells a course teaching others to do the same, all while lying about his wealth and boasting about his sexual conquests, you deserve the contempt he holds you in for being as foolish as he counts you being. And like, my God. I've never seen I've never seen tweets from Jeremy Boring or statements from Jeremy Boring where I'm like, oh damn, that was kind of a W though. So but like this is bringing everyone in the conservosphere out of the woodwork and like putting them on a side. It's wild. It's wild to see. And then like Laura Loomer is like trying to get in on this, accusing like Jeremy Boring of blacklisting her from the Daily Wire. And Like it's wild. Like you got Laura Loomer squaring up against the Daily Wire. You've got all kinds of wildness going on here. You got I mean there are essentially like political figures that are starting to get involved as well. Like this continues to spiral out of control. And honestly, Jeremy Boring puts out an argument here that's actually fairly like good. You know, how is saying Christ is king anti-Semitic? The same way anything becomes anti-Semitic when it's used for the purpose of expressing anti-Semitism. It's like asking, how does a shovel become a murder weapon when it's used to murder someone? This isn't hard. A shovel is not innately a murder weapon. Saying Christ is king is not innately anti-Semitic. It's all about how a thing is used. Saying eat some cornbread is not racist if I say it to my 3-year-old when she's refusing her dinner. If I start saying it in response to X posts by black commentators I don't like, is taken on a meaning beyond what is innate. In other words, it's connotatively racist, not denotatively racist. So too, Christ is king may be anti-Semitic in connotation, while not in denotation when it's being used to express anti-Semitism. And I would argue this is the vast majority of how racism manifests in our language. But like, yeah, this isn't a hard concept to understand. What's just very surreal about it is seeing conservatives who like employ people who use dog whistles, bigoted dog whistles, and like just to say straight up racist shit on a regular basis. Seeing someone say that and getting it right is very weird, because Jeremy Boring is correct there, but his entire business is built specifically on doing the right dog whistles for his conservative audience to maintain plausible deniability. You know, like his entire media business is reliant on effective dog whistling, you know? It's just that in this case, it's blatant, and it's from an employee or a former employee, I guess, who's like absolutely beyond being able to censor themselves or like just control their language better. Yeah, exactly, Seth Evans. It's just very weird to see conservatives suddenly understanding dog whistles when it's, in inter community conflict. This Republican Civil War is entertaining, isn't it? And of course we have Candace Owens, which I think it's worth taking a look at prior to her ousting at the Daily Wire. What she was doing was beefing with the ADL because the ADL pointed out that Nick Fuentes has been celebrating Candace Owens. She's been in a full-fledged war against the Jews. Love it. This is the face of total Jewish defeat. She won. Like, she's being praised by Nick Fuentes.
So, we're locked in. We're going to be watching this Candace Owens interview with a rabbi, where Candace Owens has just been on a tear lately. She has been in a full-fledged war against the Jews, and specifically some of these Zionist rabbis. And I've been watching her evolution. It's been remarkable to witness.
Yeah,
I'm going to watch this Candace Owens debate.
Here, we're just going to
be honest. Candace Owens is a Jew-hating bigot. It was written by a rabbi, Rabbi Michael Barclay. So I read this article, and honestly, there are only two options here. Either this rabbi is genuinely ignorant of everything that I have ever said.
Do we have a...
I love that. I love how all the Jews have to watch this show. This is the face, dude. No. But this is the face of a total Jewish defeat. We have to stand. Go off, girly. We fucking got your back.
Yeah, so, you got literally a guy who did a Hail Hitler salute, praising Candace Owens. And how does she respond to this? Oh, I don't know Nick Fuentes.
Someone should tell Jeremy in the Daily Liar about the face-eating leopards party. Looking forward to the right eating itself more, inshallah. BWA.
Gamer G, thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate it. But like, okay, so Candace Owens says, I do not know Nick Fuentes, but you already knew that. Know that. What I do know is that everyone can see what you guys are doing to me. Your pattern is well established and the world is waking up to it. My crime is having stood up for myself against your network of smears. And again, even the way she's wording this kind of implies that like the ADL's network of smears, like is she now just saying any criticism against her is a Jewish smear? Wait, wasn't Fuentes a teenager? I mean, he was a teenager like 10 years ago. But also, like, I don't believe that Candace Owens doesn't know Nick Fuentes. And specifically, I don't believe that because 2 years ago they became friends. And not Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, mind you, but Candace Owens and Ye. And if you know anything about what Ye's been up to, just out of curiosity here, Nick Fuentes was paid more than $30,000 by Kanye West's presidential campaign. This was last year. You know, during the time period between, leading up to 2020 and into the post-2020 election season, where he was then helping to prepare Kanye West to run for president in 2024. There is a connection here between Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos, I believe, is still Ye's campaign manager for his 2024 campaign. But Nick Fuentes eventually got dropped. And yeah. I just have to say, I think that there is a very good chance, considering that, again, this is 2022. Nick Fuentes, far-right activist, holds rally at Lansing Capitol in Michigan, November 11th, 2020. Former President Donald Trump had dinner Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, at his Mar-a-Lago club with the rapper formerly known as Kanye West, who is also known as Ye, as well as Nick Fuentes. So, in 2022, Ye was running around with an entourage that included Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes, and I find it weird that if Candace Owens befriended Ye in 2022, that she had absolutely no knowledge of Nick Fuentes. Oh, who could he be? So I think she's a liar about that one. And then it then progressed from there. I mean, like you've got her talking with Cernovich here, who also is on her side now that she's been fired by the Daily Wire, and she calls the ADL smear merchants who use smear merchant guns, and calls for the world to awaken. Like it's her language has been weird. Turning Point USA a handful of days ago tweeted out this after like the fallout between Candace Owens and the Daily Wire, like, which to me speaks that the Turning Point USA might be trying to obtain her for their network, and also is, you know, this makes sense. It makes sense because Charlie Kirk is part of a Christian nationalist movement. He explicitly combines his politics show with a Christian revivalist setup with a local church of his, and they push political extremism. And it is not at all surprising to me that Charlie Kirk would also push, you know, this Christ is King angle against Jewish people. It's not surprising at all, because that's kind of where Christian nationalism goes. It winds up turning towards anti-Semitism. And in a lot of ways, this entire schism is indicative of, you know, this Christian nationalist conflict that, like, I've been telling you guys for a while now has been coming, which is essentially that Christian nationalists are Christian. You know, for a long time, there was this effort to kind of bridge this divide and kind of tap into this anti-Muslim bigotry, you know, and that was done through the implementation of what's called Judeo-Christian values. And you would hear conservatives over and over and over again talk about these Judeo-Christian values, these Judeo-Christian values. But the reality is that Christian fundamentalists do not respect or care about, and actively hate, in a lot of cases, Jewish people. And so at the end of the day, as the far right continues to radicalize towards Christian nationalism, which is what it's going to predominantly be in America, you're going to see this schism between the Turning Point USAs, these explicitly Christian nationalist organizations, and the likes of like the Daily Wire and PragerU, you know, specifically because PragerU is run by Dennis Prager. He's a Jewish man. You know, he's one of the premier implementers of this Judeo-Christian values idea in conservative politics. And then you have Daily Wire, which is co-founded by Ben Shapiro. And there are a lot of people for a long time who have gone along with ever-increasing conservative rhetoric, ignoring the radicalization, and now it's getting to the point where they can't even keep their employees in line and are having to like fire them because they can't stop being anti-Semitic, because they keep making these broadcasts about how the Jews are transing world leaders for some nefarious agenda. So like this is almost like an inevitable outcome of like what this radicalization is, you know? Yeah, like Wabi Sabian, like the correct way, if you were going to bridge like a gap between like different religions, like, and you were to look at, you know, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, you would talk about the Abrahamic religions. We already have like a term for that, but they keep inventing new ones in order to ostracize and alienate different groups of people that they view as inconvenient, or as, you know, in some cases, convenient outsiders to rally their base against, you know? And, you know, of course, you have Candace Owens here, you know, overwhelmed by the amount of love I've received over the last 24 hours from all over the world. Thank you all. Also to my brothers and sisters in faith who are recognizing that we need to stand for one another. I need to just... Ooh. Also to my brothers and sisters in faith who are recognizing that we need to stand by one another. There's deep-seated hatred in the media for Christians. The worldwide persecution of Christians rarely receives coverage and is readily dismissed. We should not allow that. And I just want to point out here in this comment, my brothers and sisters in faith. She's talking explicitly to Christians. There's a deep-seated hatred in the media for Christians. And I'm pointing out the media because, again, people like Candace Owens believe that the Jews control the media. And essentially, if this was just like a standalone tweet from someone, maybe I wouldn't think of it, right? But given that this is from Candace Owens, I think that a lot of this is coded to be anti-Semitic. People like Candace Owens, who have been radicalized as far right as Candace Owens, believe that the media is run by the Jews for some nefarious agenda. And if they're Christian nationalists, they believe that the entire world is out to get them, right? Because guess what? Baked into Christianity is this idea that if you feel different, if you feel apart from the world, if you feel isolated, if you feel alone, if you feel like you're being attacked or being told that you're wrong, that is actually built into the ideology that, like, oh, that's just because God has set you apart from the world, and therefore the world will hate you. And that this is something that I was taught growing up, you know? This is something I was taught growing up, that believing in Christ meant that people would hate me, and that therefore everything that was different about me, everything I believed was kind of, you know, a validation from God, you know? So it's very hard to reason with folks. And again, here's Candace Owens. Christ is King is trending worldwide. The media's attempt to cross him again has failed. Happy Sunday. And I do have to wonder, again, the media's attempt to cross him again. I'm going out on a limb here and trying to tell you guys that in the coded language that Candace Owens is using here, she's essentially saying they put, you know, the media tried to kill him again, to kill Christ, to put him on a cross again. And again, the media, all she's missing, literally all she's missing from this post are the 3 parentheses around the media that would be on your typical like 4chan post, you know? It's pretty wild. And again, you see like Candace Owens here fighting with that conservative voice actress. This is a cute attempt to rewrite history after you tried to cancel the phrase, but let's just recap what happened here, for the record, before you move on to trying to gaslight Christians. Absolutely no one shouted Christ is King at a Jew. Rather, what happened was that a group of nasty people tried to spearhead a PR campaign behind the scenes to smear me as anti-Semitic when it was announced that I parted ways with the Daily Wire. And again, she's talking about like the ADL. The nasty people she's talking about are like Jewish people who are rightly pointing out that like Nick Fuentes is cheering on her anti-Semitism. Like, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room on that one, but sure, go off, Queen. And also, like, the ADL is not necessarily a great organization, but like they were absolutely correct in assessing that Candace Owens is an anti-Semite. As proof of this, it was offered up that I tweeted Christ is King last November with the ADL and Andrew Klavan sloppily attempting to correlate the phrase to Nick Fuentes. Which again, yeah, kind of like Nick Fuentes is like a 4chan creation. It's like created in a lab to like be a little Nazi twink, okay? It does correlate with Nick Fuentes. The entire world stood up against this smear for 2 reasons. 1, because no one is buying the ridiculous storyline that I suddenly became an anti-Semite, no matter how powerful the network of smear merchants. Again, smear merchant just sounds kind of anti-Semitic to me, okay? Look, I don't know that this is a anti-Semitic dog whistle, but given that literally one of the most anti-Semitic tropes that exists is like the Merchant of Venice and his pound of flesh, this kind of seems like an intentional phrasing. Are working to make that a thing. 2, because Christ is King. In conclusion, this campaign failed disastrously, and I'm proud that Christians made it clear that we can and will unite to defend our faith. And basically, again, all of this just underlines what I was talking about when it comes to Christian nationalism and like her trajectory. I think that Candace Owens, after being on the Daily Wire, is probably going to build up her own online presence. She's probably going to collaborate with Turning Point USA again. Just something I'm sensing from the ether here, and I would guess that would either then like completely dissolve and break apart when her inevitable anti-Semitism and like frankly racism and bigotry come to light more and more as she radicalizes. I foresee her like being banned off of YouTube and like kicked over to Rumble or Kick or something, and maybe having to like collab with Alex Jones in order to remain relevant. You know, once you are this far into the conspiracy singularity, there's not really a whole lot of places to go. You know, for her, she only has like 3 other conservative outlets that she could go to and still have some degree of prominence. But like, it all ends with this falling apart for her and her going down and like starting to argue like flat earth on some Alex Jones InfoWars knockoff show. And yeah, I think that's a great future for her, frankly. Alex Jones is collaborating with Steven Crowder. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think that Alex Jones would collaborate with just about anyone right now, given how desperate he is. Also, just wanted to point this out, which is Ben Shapiro here. Where can I lost the post, but I still want to share it. First of all, it's a bit funny to me that Ben Shapiro still holds a grudge here against Steven Crowder. He boosted this Jared Monroe statement. Just pretty great. Doing his best to bring down Steven from afar without getting too involved. But where is the post I'm looking for? Yeah, there's it's a lot of reposting by Ben to doing back and forth defending the Daily Wire from charges of like anti-Semitism and Jeremy Boring, and like this is what's interesting, right? Allie Beth Stuckey wrote, "There's no way to explain to a normal person what's happening on conservative Twitter right now." And Chris Rufo replying, "It's getting insane. We have a problem on the right. The economics of online discourse are increasingly at odds with forming and mobilizing a successful political movement," which is true. And seeing Chris Rufo say that gives me a lot of hope. Because right now, the conservative movement has radicalized too soon for the amount of power it actually wields. And what I mean by that is essentially, like, they can't have the openly anti-Semitic, the openly racist conversations that they want to have. They can't actually organize along these far-right Christian nationalist lines with the traditional media networks that they've built up in the conservosphere, you know? And by, like, this factionalizing due to the further, you know, fascistization of the Republican Party, they're completely crumbling apart. I hope they become irrelevant and scattered to the wind. I agree. But one thing to know is that this is Christopher Rufo. And we actually have a segment talking about him later today, which is, he's the guy who mainlined the talking point of critical race theory. He's the guy who mainlined into the Republican Party the idea of talking about trans high school sports. Christopher Rufo is the guy who mainlined the idea of DEI being the next devil for the conservative movement to rally against. And like, his entire job as a political operative is doing that. And he's sitting here being like, this is unworkable. And frankly, that's great. That's great. They're realizing the inherent instability of their bigoted, hateful movement. And I saw that and was just kind of shocked. You know, you also have, of course, Jack Posobiec, Christ is King, trending worldwide in the top 10 as Holy Week begins. Hundreds of thousands of posts, every knee, which is shorthand for the phrase, every knee will bow because Christ is King. So, you know, it's a whole lot. And then you have Andrew Klavan's statement the other day, which we'll just take a quick gander at, you know, about as much gander as Andrew Klavan deserves.
When you start saying things like some of those books Hitler burned were so bad, you know, I was shocked. This is something Candace actually said. I was surprised to learn that the books Hitler was burning, or the Nazis were burning, they weren't good books. They were bad books. They were socialist books. so you know, they burned. That's true.
Like even Andrew Klavan is just like that. Ha ha ha. It's true. They were burning bad books, but also like, Candace Owens has said some pretty flattering things about Hitler. We'll go over it. Don't worry.
Burning the book is the act of a savage, first of all. And when you start with burning books, you start burning people. But they burned Joseph Conrad, one of my favorite writers, Kafka, Hemingway, Jack London, and yes, some socialists, some of whom were extremely talented and some of whom were extremely interesting, like Karl Marx is an extremely interesting writer with whom I deeply, deeply disagree, but I don't burn his books because I'm not a savage. When you start saying that, that's a dog whistle. I'm sorry. I know it's a leftist phrase. I know they use it, you know, randomly with anything you say. I understand all of that. Still.
Even Andrew Klavan is just like, yeah, you anti-Semitic though. You anti-Semitic with those dog whistles though. Do you guys have any idea what it takes for this deeply unwell-looking man to come out against a fellow coworker?
Accusations of the Nazis against the Jews are one of the most well-documented, recorded atrocities in human history because they're Germans. They're Germans. They keep records. They keep very good records. We know these things happen. They weren't burning books. You know, they also hated Einstein because his science was Jewish science. They hated Mendelssohn, one of their great composers, because his music was Jewish music. That's the way they thought. It's lunacy. It's lunacy to think that way. So when you start to say,
Ignore the fact that the far right does this about woke things all the time. Just anything that can be labeled as woke, they hate, regardless of its quality or any other aspect about it.
well, you know, some of those books they burned are, you know, are bad books. I'm sorry. That's a dog whistle. When you retweet a post saying a Jew is drunk on Christian blood, which goes back, as I'm sure you know, to old blood libel that you know.
Yeah, but by the way, she did like a tweet about a Jewish person being drunk on Christian blood. So the idea of maybe she's not an anti-Semite just kind of really goes out the window. Did I find let's see. Oh yeah, she tweeted at Ben Shapiro that you cannot serve both God and money. And it's just my God. Yeah, here we go. Owens began to use her Daily Wire platform to promote anti-Semitism, claiming this month on her show that secret Jewish gangs terrorize Hollywood, and recently favorited a tweet repeating a lie about Jews drinking Christians' blood. Yep. This is from the Washington Post, by the way. So, yeah.
You know, Jews eat Christian children.
This is called blood libel. It's literally 1,000-year-old anti-Semitic trope. It's the oldest anti-Semitic trope. The idea that like Jewish people abduct babies and use them for a cult ritual. Basically claiming that Jews were witches. Like it's a whole thing.
That's a dog whistle. When you start to refer in this kind of clever way to certain group of people in Hollywood corrupting blacks and killing Michael Jackson, you're not allowed to then put on an innocent.
Oh yeah, she also claimed that Rabbi Shmuley killed Michael Jackson. That was also a thing. And like I deeply dislike Rabbi Shmuley. Like he's basically just he exists for attention. But yeah, responding to him this way is unacceptable. Absolutely.
Look and say, well, I'm just saying there's certain people, just a few, you know, it's not, I'm just saying, you know, you're messing with us. You're messing with us.
Yeah, he's nuts.
Everyone knows it, and no one is fooled except those people who want to pretend to be fooled because they hate the Jews. The biggest truth that Candace told in that way, that I find, again, and this is not personal animus toward her, but I find difficult to excuse this when anybody does it. The truth that hid wickedness, that I thought was the most wicked truth to use, was the truth that Christ is king. It is almost exactly 20 years since I acknowledged the kingship of Christ in my life and over the universe as well. It's like 2 weeks, and it'll be 20 years since my baptism. It was hard for me to do. It was hard for me to do. I'm a proud man, and I want to be king. I want to be in charge of my life. I want to take credit for the good things that happened to me. I want to say, you know, what my opinion is about right and wrong. I don't want to bend the knee to anybody. And people who know me will tell you, I don't bend the knee to anybody except Christ the King. And the day I took off my paper crown and bowed my knee before his crown of golden light, I became a true man and a free man, and the joy in my heart has only grown. You know, when I did this, by the way, the priest who baptized me said, you know, Christians won't accept you. You'll still be a Jew. And I said, well, I am. That's my race. I'm a Jew. I'm proud of my race. It's a great race. It's done many, many great things, including write the Bible. And, you know, I am a Jew. But that hasn't happened at all. Christians have welcomed me with open arms, except this Christ the King anti-Semitic crowd. Christ is the king, and one day every knee will bow and recognize it, because he's not just my king, he's king of the universe. But when you use that phrase to mean,
Yeah, like honestly, as far as like these narratives go, Jew is a religion, not a race. No. The Jews are both an ethnic group and also a Jewish, like a religious group. Yeah, there are people who are ethnically Jewish but not religiously Jewish. That freeze frame though, yeah.
that God has abandoned his chosen people, the Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Jewish people are an ethnicity. There are non-religious Jews, and like the non-religious Jews are what Ben Shapiro calls, fake Jews. And it's why Sam Cedar calls Ben Shapiro the Pope of the Jews, ironically, because he's sitting there deciding who is and is not Jewish. Is he ethnically Jewish? I think Andrew Klavan just stated that he's ethnically Jewish and he converted to Christianity, which is also a thing. Is Hinduism also ethno-religious? No. Hinduism is a cult, is a religion.
Through whom he came into this world incarnate, and that he's broken his promises, his covenant with the Jews. You are quoting scripture like Satan does in the Bible. You are quoting scripture to your purposes, and that to me is specifically wicked.
And I will say this to Andrew Klavan's credit, which I never thought I would say, but to his credit, this is what, if you are a real believing Christian, this is the appropriate reaction to have to people co-opting your religious beliefs for political power. This is to his credit, I believe that Andrew Klavan's conversion is legitimate. I think he actually believes what he's saying here. And this is the actual position you would have if you actually valued and believed the things that you say you believe. Hey, trans girl Jade.
When you spit that phrase at Ben Shapiro, my friend Ben Shapiro, and I understand this. All of you who love Ben, and I love Ben, and Jordan Peterson, you all want to see them
I don't love Ben.
Find Jesus, because you know what joy and freedom that gives you, and you certainly feel that it alters your relationship with God. But when I think about this, to be honest with you, and I know some people will disagree with this, but life is not a game show where you guess the name of God and you get to go to heaven. Honk, yes, the name is Jesus. I look at Ben's life and I think if Ben were to embrace Jesus Christ, it would cause devastation to his family, to the people who love him, to the people who listen to him, to his position in the world. I just have this feeling that God has put this guy where he wants him to do what he wants him to do. And as you know, I feel...
Well, again, if Christ is king, if God lords over the entire universe, then literally all of us are in that position. Unless we want to get into a conversation about free will, in which case that kind of undermines your point. But go off, King.
That, the Jews were not abandoned by God. I feel the same way about Jordan. Jordan struggles with this stuff, and I feel like I have an inkling of why he has to struggle with it, but his struggle is inspiring to other people. And I think God wants his boys where he's got them, and there's no thought in my mind that he is going to send these guys into battle and then turn his back on them when they come marching home. It's not a game show. Christ is love, Christ is truth, Christ is the logos of the moral order. You follow love, you follow truth, you follow the moral order. You will find yourself ultimately at Jesus Christ's door. I don't worry about Ben and Jordan Peterson one little bit. And so when you spit Christ the King at them to insist that they have been rejected by the one who sent them to do the work that they're doing, no. Now,
No, I believe Andrew Klavan's read the Bible. I think he's done that. This is a pretty common inconsistency to see like religious folk have. So I actually don't. Did he hint at a little Calvinism? Yeah, he's kind of doing like a Calvinism, and he's kind of doing like a, purgatory type thing. Like all souls eventually get to heaven type situation.
that just doesn't sit with me in the least.
That was a weird transition. All right. He actually seems scripturally pretty knowledgeable. I believe he goes on like a lot of religious podcasts and like talks about like theology. So like I believe he has like a decent grasp on what he's talking about. But it's just kind of shocking to see all these people like starting to, that this brood war against all of this, for sure. It's weird. And I wanted to see what the latest like video that Candace Owens had put out, and it is a doozy. It's also like 30 minutes long, so I'm just gonna like in the middle here say, hey guys, we've been going for about 4 hours, almost 4.5 hours now. If you've been enjoying the show, please hit the follow button on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, like the YouTube stream, and consider dropping some subs, donos, or memberships, because this show at the end of the day is brought to you by viewers like you. I can't do it without your support, because again, I'm not a big enough channel to make it on ad revenue alone. So please do consider dropping those subs, donos, or memberships. I do need some sweet oil. And also, we're at 81 likes. We've got about 250 people watching tonight. I think we could actually hit 100 likes. I have faith that like 19 of you can hit the like button. I believe in you guys, okay? And is this the climax of the segment? Yes, this is kind of the climax of the segment, because I just want to point out that her latest video is titled, "Why Does Everyone Think I Am Going to Be Killed?" That's Candace Owens' latest video. And I do have to say, this is from 7 days ago, okay? This is from like a day or so before she got kicked from the Daily Wire. And it goes over like all of her greatest hits. So let's take a look at her position on it.
All right, everybody, happy Tuesday. At least I'm very happy today.
Also, I did speed it up slightly,
because we've been trending all day on X, given the interview that I gave with Rabbi Barclay yesterday. A lot of you guys have so many comments regarding that back and forth. And one of the questions that I have is, why do so many people think I'm going to get killed? Yeah, it's a recurring theme. People are like, be careful, Candace, double up on your security. Don't do this, don't do that. They're going to kill you. You're going to get Michael Jacksoned. Where is all of that rhetoric coming from? Today, I want to unpack it, and I want to...
When she says you're going to get Michael Jacksoned, it's pretty apparent from her previous videos that she thinks that Jewish people assassinated Michael Jackson.
To formally state my history when it comes to my engagement with the political movement in America, reveal to you guys some things that I've never revealed before, really want to crack open this dialogue. All that and more today, coming up on Candace Owens. All right, guys, a tremendous response. Honestly, thank you. I think people of all races and religions were just shocked by the conversation that I had with Rabbi Barclay yesterday. It wasn't really much of a conversation. Obviously, he spoke a lot more than I did, but I was happy for that. I was grateful for that, because I wanted people to hear his perspectives. I know this is going to sound weird, but I kind of like Rabbi Barclay because I think he's honest. I think he honestly, as I tweeted yesterday, views himself as better and more important, or at least his race as more important than other races, more significant, the history of his race as more significant. And even in terms of someone being a supremacist.
Also, yeah, folks, don't get suckered in by Candace Owens, like being, against Israel in the Israel, like, as Israel is doing active war crimes in Gaza. Don't be bamboozled by that, please. Like, it's like the easiest grift for her to do, as she moves farther to the right. Like, a lot of people have been doing that. A lot of conservative figures. Don't be duped, okay? Have discernment.
If you are honestly a supremacist, at least I can appreciate that, because you're not hiding who you are. And that's why I meant it when I said that he will always be welcomed back onto the show. I think it takes courage to have conversations, and I think that what he did yesterday was actually quite...
Also, I don't think that she actually has the rights to this show anymore, so this is probably the last episode that's going up on this channel for a while, because you'll notice that in the lower left-hand corner of the screen it says Daily Wire Plus, and I don't think that she's going to have more of this show. So the rest of, he's always welcome back on this show. Don't think he's going to be there, actually. She had to revive her old YouTube channel that has like a third of the subscriber base. So yeah, not great for her, which I'm happy about.
Courageous. A couple of moments that you guys were shocked by, just like me, was, I guess, just the lack of definition when it comes to anti-Semitism. It mutates. Told us that over and over again. It is a definition. It is a hate that mutates, which essentially, at least the way I took it, and I think most of you took it, means that it can just be whatever they say that it is, including the term hag. I think I actually learned the word hag from watching the movie Hocus Pocus when I was a kid. It actually was one of my favorite movies, and they used the word hag, and I used it to describe someone that is engaging in witch-like behavior, trying to cast a spell on audiences to convince them that Candace Owens is an anti-Semite when I could not be further from that sort of a categorization. I have no hatred towards...
I have no hatred towards Jews. I just think that there are roving gangs of Jews that control Hollywood, and also, I like tweets about them drinking the blood of Christians, and also, I do all of these things, but I don't hate Jewish people. I just think y'all are icky, and that's Candace Owens. That's Candace Owens in a nutshell. Just like, I couldn't possibly be anti-Semitic. She's doing the thing that like white people do when they're confronted by the fact that they might be racist. Like, no, I couldn't possibly be racist. I could never. They're just a little scary. Like, it's just, like, I feel like she's doing the same thing like, white Karens do here.
Jewish people in my soul. I just don't. I've had many experiences with Jewish people growing up. I've already recounted those. We're not going to do that today. But yes, Rabbi Barclay says that the scholars agree. He kept talking down to me. It's the scholars. It's the intelligentsia. They're so much smarter than us, and they understand the definition just changes. I think a lot of you guys were also surprised by the double down, right? In the face of overwhelming evidence. I just thought there was no way, once we pulled the clips of me saying the exact opposite of what he claimed that I said, I thought there was no way.
Yeah, that's another classic Dances with Disaster. My boyfriend's dad loves to say I'm not homophobic because I'm not afraid of gay people. I just don't like them. Yeah, exactly. I don't physically feel fear when I see a gay person, so therefore I'm not homophobic.
That he was going to double down on it, but he did. He particularly doubled down on the Hitler is okay Candace thing, right? Candace said Hitler is okay. He repeated that over and over again in that hit piece. And then I showed that I did not in any way say Hitler was okay, because what...
You kind of did, though. And the best part about her saying this is that the next segment of this show is titled My History in Politics. And it is about 10 minutes of her going over, like, oh, sorry, it's the next like 20 minutes talking about how all of the things that she has said and done over her political career, with the major ones, and she's trying to provide her own spin on it to give it like a better sheen. And I don't think that she winds up being particularly successful from, the couple minutes I watched as I went through this prior to stream.
crazy person would ever jump on a stage and say that? Here's one comment from YouTube. Somebody wrote, when she played her Hitler quote and he still stood by what he wrote, I lost respect for this guy. Yeah, a lot of comments looked like that. And I think especially because so many people had never actually heard what I said in its entirety. You've seen the libels, you've seen the smears, they've been printed for years. I am still having to clarify. For years, I have been clarifying what I said. And many of you guys had never heard it because you've just seen article after article, hit after hit, people trying to convince the masses that I said something that I simply never said. And in watching that clip, I think people were shocked. But yes, this is the truth. And factually speaking, as a political pundit, whatever it is that you want to call me, as a podcaster, I have been smeared and libeled for years. And I feel a power building in that people are getting tired of this. We are being tired of being propagandized. And that is why, for me, I feel in my soul at the time is now. And people are asking, why is Candace speaking out right now? Well, the truth is I'm simply tired of being lied on. I'm a human, right? Eventually you get to a point where you say, I'm just not going to allow people to lie on my name anymore, especially, again, as I said, when it's been happening for years. And really all I've ever done.
No, it's okay, Gamer Juice. She's going to play it. She literally plays it in like another couple minutes here.
Since I've had a platform, is just tried to show you guys the truth. I don't want to tell you what to think.
No way.
I can only share with you what my experiences are and hope that it helps you develop your own ideas.
By the way, what she just did is basically provide herself an eternal shield for anything that she says, because she doesn't have to speak now about facts. All she has to speak about is her experience. You know, I'm just sharing my experiences with you guys. You know, in my experience, the moon landing was fake. You know, like you can't argue. You can argue about facts. You can't really argue about someone's experience. You know, it's a way to shield herself from criticism.
So let's recap, because I'm going to share some things I never shared before. Obviously, you guys know that I hit the scene in 2017, Jack. And I had a laser-sharp focus on the Black community. My career began when I started making YouTube videos, really challenging the BLM narrative. I was having my own awakening in real time about the lies that the media...
Well, no, you got your start by winning a lawsuit for racial discrimination. And then you tried to make a reporting tool for college professors where anyone could essentially report anyone for anything on the website you wanted to build. And then that imploded so spectacularly, but you got some conservative clout over it, and you wound up pivoting that into a Blexit movement while criticizing BLM. Again, we've been aware of your political career since before 2020, honey.
Was printing about Black people, really lies.
Oh, it was literally any media figure? Oh my god. She is a real piece of work.
Meant in my viewpoint.
I almost forgot about Blexit. I almost forgot about Blexit as well, except that she literally says that she is the founder of Blexit in her Twitter bio. So it's the New York Times bestselling author, founder of Blexit organization, first person that a worldwide smear campaign failed against. And like, what the hell, dude? Sorry, I didn't actually reach that last sentence. I only read the second one. What's Blexit? Blexit. I wonder if we can find Is there a can we have like a little ad? Do we have like a little ad that we can play? Basically, Blexit is the black exit of the Democratic Party. Basically, it was an organization to convince Black people to stop voting Democrat. Here's, I believe, yes. Here we go.
A new movement is encouraging young Black voters in Charlotte and nationwide to leave the Democratic Party. It's called Blexit, for Black Exit.
The goal is to encourage Black voters not to automatically accept political traditions that previous generations may have followed. One local leader told Channel 9's Tina Terry that supporters are hoping to be a big influence in next year's election.
To some, Pierre Wilson is a walking enigma, young, Black, and conservative.
I always tell people that Republican to me is the party. but conservative is your values. I vote my values.
Wilson is a 30-year-old single father who moved to Charlotte from Maryland.
I grew up a Democrat. My mom, dad, grandparents, everyone's Democrats in my family.
But he deviated from that tradition, becoming the local leader of a movement called Blexit, which encourages black voters to leave the Democratic Party.
It is time for us to stand up for our community boldly, to look the Democrat Party in the eye and to tell them that you are going to fight for our votes.
He says this speech, delivered last year by Blexit founder Candace Owens, challenged him to question the black community's continued support of the Democratic Party. State numbers show North Carolina has more than 1.4 million black voters. The vast majority, about 80%, are
Basically, this campaign was to depress African American turnout in the election in order to facilitate the election of like Donald Trump. You know, that's essentially what it was for, right? And well, essentially, Mix Rossetti, there are marginalized people who find themselves you know, in different with different priorities, especially once they have attained wealth or status, you know, in the dominant status quo. And so you'll have people who start off like left-leaning, and then they get money, and then they start voting for the tax breaks rather than the civil rights, you know? That's a thing that happens. Good night, Charlie. Get good sleep. So, like, priorities change. The conventional wisdom used to be in America that the older people get, the more conservative they get. And that trend was largely fueled by the fact that, generally speaking, in the past, as people in America got older, they got wealthier, and so they became more conservative to protect that wealth. But that is increasingly no longer the case in America. So the Republican Party is in a huge pickle. So that's kind of the situation with that in particular. Did Candace Owens get interviewed for this piece? I don't think she did. But let's get back to that. And by that, I mean this segment.
Keep black people down, to encourage black people to live a life of criminality.
Yeah, if you ever heard the like a Republican talk about the Democrat plantations, basically the idea that like Democrats keep black people ideologically bankrupt, so they remain trapped on, you know, a metaphorical plantation to labor for the Democratic Party always. That's kind of the argument that is made.
Beans successfully boiled.
Ghetto Spock, thank you very much for the tier 1 sub over on Twitch. I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your boiled beans.
To encourage black people to loot and to riot their own neighborhoods in the name
Oh,
of
no,
some
it's okay,
perceived
Nerd
social
Deck.
justice. I pretty immediately got hired at Turning Point USA, and I hit the ground running with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is unapologetically pro-Israel. Everybody knows this. I was beside him throughout most of his pro-Israel commentary, and I bet if people dug it up on the internet, you would hear me saying pro-Israel talking points. And I say talking points because when I got into it, I didn't really care, again, about Israel because I was an American, and I just wanted to talk about Black America. But certainly I was nodding my head no matter what Charlie Kirk said, because
Hell yeah,
I was
Ron
just
Wynn.
grateful to have a platform to talk about the things that were important to me. And I had a wonderful experience with Charlie Kirk, and I learned a lot under him and with Turning Point USA. In 2018, Charlie Kirk and I traveled to the United Kingdom, and it is there that I gave a notorious speech in November of 2018.
Here it is,
where
Gamer
that
G.
clip was derived from. I'm going to show you
Here
that
it
clip
is.
again in its context. We were talking about things that were happening in the United States, and somebody raised their hand and asked about the word nationalism, why we're all so afraid to say, I'm a nationalist. I am focused on my own nation. And in trying to answer their question, I basically said, because the word nationalism has been wrongly attributed to Adolf Hitler, at least in America, and that's why people are afraid to embrace the word. Here are my words again. Yeah, I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, in at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a national socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism. And thinking about how it could go bad down the line, I don't really have an issue with nationalism. I really don't. I think that it's okay. It's important to retain your country's identity and to make sure that what's happening here, which I think is incredibly worrisome in terms of the decrease in the birth rate that we're seeing in the UK, is what you kind of want to avoid. So I don't have anything problem. I have no problems with nationalism. It's globalism that I try to avoid.
So I just want to say, she thinks that this makes her look better. She literally got up on stage and said, yeah, can we, I just want to break this down as she talks, okay? Because I know that if I just respond how I want to here, without breaking it down as it goes, that there are going to be conservatives in the comments of this inevitable segment talking about how I just summarily, like, disregarded the context or whatever. So I'm going to break it down step by step as we go through this clip.
The definition gets poisoned. I'm focused on my own nation. Embrace the word. Here are my words. Again. Yeah, I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets the definition gets poisoned.
The definition of nationalism has been the same for decades, you know, maybe even hundreds of years. I'm not super up on my etymology for nationalism, but it's not being poisoned by elites. That's not how definitions work.
By elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is
also, just to point out, globalism, globalist, elites, these are all dog whistles that are generally used to refer to Jews. You know, the idea being that, oh, Jewish people are the elites. They're controlling the world. They control Hollywood. They control the banks. And they are actually building a global empire to control the world. This is what is referred to as JQing. You know, this is or echo posting. This is the Jewish question. It's a reference to what Hitler wrote about in his writings and his speeches.
what I don't want. So when you
that is true. She's not wrong about nationalism being different from globalism, but she's wrong about the definition of nationalism being poisoned by elites. That's not happening.
think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a national socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to
Again, part of the problem with this statement is that Hitler didn't just want the best for his country. And even if you had just confined him to the area of Germany that he controlled prior to World War II, it would have still been horrifically evil and bad. He would have still attempted to kill all of the Jews in Germany. He still would have undertaken the ethnic cleansing project to cleanse Germany of Jews. Like, the fundamental issue of Hitler isn't just that, oh, he wanted to take over the rest of Europe. No. There are other issues at play here.
globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way.
Okay, we're gonna have to listen to that one again, okay?
He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way.
He wanted everyone to be German, everyone to be speaking German, everyone to look a different way. Yeah, he didn't want black people to exist. He didn't want Jews to exist. He was building a nation, like an ethno-state for the Aryan race. That's what he was doing. The concept of globalism isn't when one country takes over the entire world and that's globalism. That's not how that works. Globalism is just acknowledging how different countries are connected in a modern economy because we ship products to other countries. Isn't that nationalism at its utmost worst example? Yes. What she's describing is nationalism that expands beyond one's borders, which is not globalism. Globalism isn't when you expand territory. That usually territorial expansion is done in the name of nationalism. Like when we get to our story tonight about Gaza and what's going on there, the land seizures being done in the occupied territories are being done in the name of nationalism, not globalism, nationalism. And furthermore, like, the Nazis imagined themselves to be, the new Reich, the inheritors of the Roman Empire. They were rebuilding their nation.
I wonder if she is a member of the Leopards Eating My Face Club.
Not yet. But Catalina Gearbox, thank you for the $5 dono. The Nazis believed themselves to be reassembling the Roman Empire. They thought that they were the successors to Rome. And so to them, invading the rest of Europe to rebuild that empire isn't that isn't conflicting with a nationalist project. That is their nationalist project. Are you guys following what I'm saying? Are you like, is there any point that I need to clarify here so far? Yes? You're good? All right, cool. Tell them about Roman exploding toilets. Oh yeah, in case none of you knew, while plumbing was indeed incredible in Rome back in the day, they had to etch symbols onto their toilets, magic spells onto and prayers onto the walls of their toilets, specifically because the way their sewer system was built didn't accommodate for methane gas. And as such, there would periodically just be sewer explosions as methane gas would build up in the sewer system. So there was a non-zero chance that you'd just go into the bathroom and, like, explode. Because, again, it would explode in the sewers that were directly under your ass. So they would have magic protective spells to make sure that, you aren't going to get exploded for using the bathroom. And that's pretty great. I like that fact. I like that people just were like, just accepted that passively. Like, if it's my time, it's my time. I'm gonna explode. The original Thunderpants, yeah. All right.
That's not, to me, that's not nationalism. In thinking about how it could go bad down the line.
By the way, even here, she's like, to me, that's not nationalism. Okay, but we're not talking about to you. We're talking about by, like, definitions. Is it nationalism? Is it not? Like, we don't care about to you. We want to know to reality, to objective standards.
I don't really have an issue with nationalism. I really don't. I think that it's okay. It's important to retain your country's identity and to make sure that what's happening here, which I think is incredibly worrisome in terms of the decrease.
Keep in mind, she's saying that she has no problem with nationalism, that she thinks it's okay to maintain your country's identity, and she's saying that immediately after talking about Adolf Hitler would have been relatively okay if he'd only done his projects internally in Germany, which again, Hitler was setting up an ethno-state for Aryans. So that was his version of maintaining national identity. I don't see how this possibly makes her look good, guys. Even in context.
In the birth rate that we're seeing in the UK is what you kind of want to avoid. So I don't have anything I have no problems with nationalism. It's globalism that I try to avoid.
There you have it. I have no issues with nationalism. There's no person that can watch that clip and somehow believe that I was saying it's totally okay to Holocaust the Jews. I didn't even mention the word Holocaust. I didn't mention the word Jews.
But you did talk about Hitler, and when someone mentions Hitler, the number one thing that they think about is the Holocaust, Candace. The big national project that people associate with Nazi Germany is the Holocaust, and I just I didn't even say it.
Truly was answering a question about whether or not we should embrace the word nationalism, but that didn't matter. Now, again, I want to be clear.
Well, that's because even if you were trying to do that, one, you didn't do it, and two, it was
BWA.
Obviously the worst possible way to answer that question. Also, Mathatyahu, thank you for the tier 2 sub over on the Riverboat site. I very, very much appreciate that.
Clear that clip that you're watching, that was recorded in 2018 at a live event in the UK. And there were journalists at that event. I was interviewed by journalists at that event. About 200 people were in attendance, amongst them many Jewish people were in attendance. Nobody cared. Nobody thought it was problematic what I said on stage. Fast forward to 2019, and out of nowhere, a journalist writing for Media Matters decided to make that clip go viral online. The journalist's name who made that clip go viral on Twitter was Jonathan Whitehouse. Again, he writes for Media Matters, and suddenly I woke up months after having given a speech to
Literally, she's complaining here about a clip where she says that Hitler would have been an okay guy if he had just maintained himself in Germany, and is trying to paint herself as the victim because someone paid attention to what she said. That's her complaint here. Her complaint is that someone paid attention to me, and that's a problem because then everyone else saw my behavior and the things I said and told me it was a problem. And yeah, maybe people should, tell you that is a problem when you are going around and defending nationalism by making comparisons to Hitler.
every person calling for me to be canceled because I supported Adolf Hitler. That's not a joke. I'm showing you some headlines. This is Media Matters. Turning Point USA's Candace Owens, quote, "If Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. I have no problem with nationalism."
Yeah, this is literally what you said. If Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. And you concluded by saying you have no problems with nationalism. This is not, you said these things. Even if you're well, it's disingenuous for them to put the ellipses here and then I have no problems with nationalism, that still doesn't, the main meat of the issue here is the completed sentence they're quoting you on.
Wow, that's kind of making it seem very different from what I was actually saying. Behind them, BuzzFeed News, Candace Owens.
It's what you actually said, though.
If Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Again, no context given to that quotation.
Well, yeah, no context was given to that quotation because it's in the title of the article. You have to read the article, Candace. You have to click on the article and read it. Because again, this is like me saying, "Oh, Candace Owens, why does everyone think I'm going to be killed?" Oh man, that sounds like everyone's saying that Candace Owens is going to be killed. This entire video is clearly about how there's a massive, people are just are waiting to take out Candace Owens. And like 3 seconds of this video was talking about like many people are saying I might be murdered, and it's not. Most of this isn't at all about you being killed or murdered. Yeah, why didn't you put context in the title? Why didn't you say like 2 seconds of why does everyone think I'm going to be killed, and 30 minutes of me talking about how I am the victim in all of this, given what I have said and done.
So you can imagine the firestorm that was caused. And Mediaite Candace Owens, Hitler's nationalism was actually fine. It was his globalism that was a problem.
That is what you said in your speech.
You can already see what they were trying to do. And again, the firestorm that I endured, I will tell you something personal. I was so stressed out by that event that I stressed myself into an autoimmune response. Like my body was breaking down because I didn't understand what was happening. I'd never in my entire life been accused of anti-Semitism, and suddenly I was fighting for my career. I was temporarily blacklisted from Fox News for having said this sentence, which suddenly again was pulled out of obscurity. And
well, again, that makes sense because Fox News wouldn't want to have someone on with so little media sense that they would say something like that. Like they're protecting their monetary investment, Candace.
And I quite literally was facing a threat that everything was going to be over because how dare I say that? I have absolutely no right to say that. And then you had Jewish organizations that
Candace sewing. Fuck yeah, this is great. Candace reaping. Oh no, they think I like Hitler because I said that it was okay.
Issued very strong statements against them, among them the Simon Wiesenthal Center. Here is a tweet from them when this was going viral back on February 8th, 2019. They wrote, "Scope and depth of Candace Owens' lack of knowledge of basic history is appalling and frightening. Hitler's program to make Germany great was based on race and anti-Semitism." Also, of course,
yeah,
the ADL instantly jumped on this. They tweeted,
it's really interesting how she's focusing on the Simon Wiesenthal Center and the ADL responding to her positive comments about Hitler.
Tweeted first and foremost John Whitehouse, so they helped to make this video go viral. And then they wrote this in response: "Candace Owens bizarrely claims Hitler went wrong only when he meddled in other countries. Hitler's murderous crimes against Jews and others were horrific, regardless of whether they occurred across Europe or in Germany alone. Hitler wasn't a globalist, but a genocidal dictator." So you see what they're doing here. They're just engaging in...
Why are you trying to gaslight us into thinking that like they're wrong in their assessment of what you said? Maybe Candace Owens didn't intend it the way that it came across, but you still said those things, and like no one knows what's in your heart, lady. No one can read your mind. All we have is the actual text of what you said. And like the way you said it and the context in which you said it, and all of those things point to their position on what you said being correct.
The libel and the slander, they're trying to color people's opinions before they've actually heard or understood the context of what I was saying. And let me tell you guys something. It worked. It actually worked.
Also, just out of curiosity, if I go to Media Matters, okay, I'm going to look up this particular article, Turning Point USA's Candace Owens, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great. Let's see here. Here we go. Found it.
Yeah, I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist, but if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism. In thinking about how it could go bad down the line, I don't really have an issue with nationalism. I really don't. I think that it's okay. It's important to retain your country's identity and to make sure that what's happening here, which I think is incredibly worrisome in terms of the decrease in the birth rate that we're seeing in the UK, is what you kind of want to avoid. So I don't have anything I have no problems with nationalism. It's globalism that I try to avoid.
So just to be clear here, we went to this article and literally there's no editorializing in here. Literally the only thing in this article is the full clip plus a transcript of the clip, and pointing out that it's from the December 11th launch of Turning Point UK. This is this is not out of context. It's literally everything. Man, dude.
They're trying to color people's opinions before they've actually heard or understood the context of what I was saying. And let me tell you guys something. It worked. It actually worked. That is the power of the media. I felt like it was a hit job. Like someone just said, we've got to get her, pour through every second of footage of Candace Owens speaking. We're going to pull something out of context, and this girl is going to be gone. Because what else could this be? Of course,
literally nothing. Oh wait, this is the wrong article. There we go. Literally nothing here indicates that, like, they are framing her in, like, the wrong light. They included the entire response to the question. How exactly are you being done dirty?
If I was on stage saying I love Hitler, it would have gone viral back in November. The Jewish people that attended my speech would have been outraged immediately. Why was this suddenly popping up in February of 2019? I'll never have an answer on that, but something that I never shared and I want to share today was what happened thereafter. A friend of mine, who I am not going to name, encouraged me to visit the Simon Wiesenthal Center. That's a human rights organization, human rights for Jews organization. And there was this very strange meeting that occurred. Now, I want to be clear that I didn't understand the meeting because the individuals were speaking in Hebrew. My understanding going into it was that once I spoke to this individual, things would be clarified, and then I could just go on living, and my reputation would pretty much be restored. And by golly, that's kind of what happened. So again, it was an extremely old man. I think he runs the place. I don't know. I can't remember his name, so I'm not going to make one up. But I had to sit in a meeting and explain that I didn't think Hitler was a great person, listen to two people speak Hebrew, and then my reputation was restored, or at least I was allowed to go on pursuing what I wanted to pursue.
Yeah, it couldn't be because it gave you plausible deniability to not be like a Nazi, and it must have been a secret Jewish spell that they cast over the media to allow you to resume your career. This is anti-Semitic. Like, it's not even a dog whistle. This is just she's claiming the Jews used magic to restore her career,
which was just talking about Black Americans
or their
and the fracturing
conspiratorial
of the
network.
Black and white relationship. It's a very odd thing when I reflect on that. But I want to be clear that the threat that Candace, this could be over at any moment for you, don't you get out of line again by, saying something that you never actually said, but don't make us have to threaten you again. That I still always felt over me because it was just a very scary thing to go through. We spend way too much time on our phones, which
God. Okay, we're not going to be watching the entire video, just as an FYI, but we will be. We'll be skipping over her commentary on Israel Palestine because it's vapid as hell. But we'll do this next part because she's about to go into talking about Kanye's DeathCon tweet about Jews. And she's about to come off looking, I'm going to assume and guess, pretty unhinged.
But let's fast forward now to 2022, to a situation that the entire world was made aware of, obviously, when Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, tweeted this. He tweeted, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda." Let's go to look at his tweet now without it being interpreted in the media, especially that last sentence. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball.
Yeah, we're gonna look at this tweet again without it being interpreted in the media, says media personality.
Anyone who ever opposes your agenda. Now, at that time, obviously, the reason why people were looking for me to make a statement is that this tweet came very close to the time that I had taken the notorious picture with Kanye West. We both wore White Lives Matter t-shirts at his fashion show in Paris. Again, me teaming up with Kanye because I have a laser focus on the Black community, and I had a laser focus on wanting to destroy Black Lives Matter as an organization because I knew that they
You also had a laser focus on trying to get your husband to sell Parler to Ye because he has so much money.
Lying to the Black community.
Is Ye a Hotep or no? Saying that Ye would be a Hotep is kind of, I think attributing too much to him. Like, Ye, I don't think has a consistent ideology to call him really anything.
So again, my entire relationship and what I did publicly with Kanye was based on Black America. But again, because this tweet came closely thereafter, people were looking at me to comment.
Yeah, he's not well.
And the truth is that I was aware behind the scenes. Kanye gave me conversations.
But in that tweet, he is expressing the Hotep idea that, like, Black people are the real Jews.
Them in their entirety of very specific Jewish people who I would say were definitively making threats against him. And so I had more knowledge than the public had when he shared this tweet. Now, what happened thereafter was I tried to caution the public the very next day following his tweet. So he had done nothing else yet. He had done no interviews. It was just the tweet that had existed in the public sphere. And I was trying to essentially say to people, hold your horses, because I think that once he explains what's happening behind the scenes, you will realize that he's not talking about all Jewish people in the entire world. He is feeling passionately about certain people that he works with. And here is what I said in an attempt to get people to hold their horses. Take a listen.
That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll admit that. You will admit that, right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost, what is DEFCON 3? Did he mean DEFCON 3, which would be a military defense position, not an offense, for those of you that are offended, a military defense position?
Is he tweeting this because he's reading the Newsweek headline calling him an anti-Semitic? Is he angry because he can't believe that he's not free to talk about people in his life who happen to be Jewish, right? Without being accused of anti-Semitism? Is he saying, I'm not going to shut up and I'm going to keep tweeting and I'm going to keep calling these people out, referring to his friends that he feels slighted by? Is he talking about Jared Kushner and Josh Kushner? If you're a liar, you'll say, I know I was scared, Candace. I actually thought that Kanye West was going to launch a military strike in Israel. Because that's the reaction. Like when I woke up and I looked at the headlines, the reaction was like Kanye West had gotten together a military strike and it was going to go forward in the morning time in Israel. That was the reaction that was met with this tweet. So that's what I said. And now that we're looking at it and examining it in the retrospect, you can see that I'm trying to suggest to people that there are specific people and he is having a reaction. And I will admit, if I fumbled the ball here, and I can understand why people were upset about it, they read that as, no, she's fully defending him, and he actually does want to go DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people everywhere. People were very upset that
He literally went on Tim Pool's show and like, do we need to take a look at a clip from that?
Yeah, I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who is they though? We can't say they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking.
It is
about
them though, isn't it? I mean, because because when you think about it, consider
Nick Fuentes is and Ye are both talking about Jews, and they're trying to get Tim Pool to go along with their incredibly straightforward anti-Semitism.
it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you afraid of the press?
Yeah. So you know, just oh yeah, he definitely wasn't talking about all Jewish people. He's talking about specific Jewish people. Which is why he got up and left an interview because someone wouldn't say the Jews were destroying his career. But okay. Oh, you mean the guy who was so anti-Semitic he spawned a swastika-inspired line of merchandise for his 2024 campaign? Yeah. So these are all real. They exist. And were specifically inspired by how much excitement the white supremacist and anti-Semitic people got out of Ye. So you know, it's just I don't know. It's interesting to hear her perspective on this, I guess.
I had said that. But I want to be clear that I had actually read the messages that were being sent to him. One of them, he ended up sharing publicly. This was a text message from Harley Pasternak to Kanye. And this was something, again, that I had read before he had sent that tweet. Text message.
Yeah, Ye hasn't gotten therapy, unfortunately. After this, he tweeted out something along the lines of, like, he watched... not Hill Street Blues. He watched 21 Jump Street, and Jonah Hill was in it, and he's Jewish, so it cured him of anti-Semitism. And that is very clearly not true, because he's been making recently more anti-Semitic statements.
Reads, I'm going to help you one of a couple of ways. First, you and I sit down and have a loving and open conversation, but you don't use cuss words, and everything that is discussed is based in fact and not some crazy stuff that dumb friend of yours told you or you saw in a tweet. Second option, I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to Zombieland forever. Playdate with the kids just won't be the same. Is that a normal tweet? I will ask you guys, a normal text message, pardon, for somebody in your life, and Harley Pasternak, yes, he is Jewish, to send to you. He's supposed to be a trainer. What do you mean I'll have you institutionalized again? What does that mean? Your play dates with the kid, you're threatening somebody's relationship with their kids, right? Now,
Yeah. Basically, this was a situation with between Ye and his personal trainer, where his personal trainer, who is, you know, if anyone has ever had a personal trainers are there to push you. That's literally their job. And Ye was supposedly angry at his personal trainer, who is Jewish, for saying, like, we could either have like a nice talk, or like, if you don't, like, we'll get you institutionalized, so you get the help you need that way. Obviously, his personal trainer doesn't have the ability to get him institutionalized. So, like, this entire argument is, oh, yeah, my hairstylist said she'd get me institutionalized. Like, what? That doesn't make sense. German Cow JJ, I really like Hill Street Blues, actually. Like, I know it's propaganda, but, like, it was a good show.
when you do something like that, it can drive somebody crazy. And again, I will own it. If it read to people at that time that when I was saying that, I was defending his right to impose upon every single Jewish person in the world, I apologize. And I'm hoping that this clarifies for you what I knew, the information that I had, and my understanding that he was responding to threats that he was actually getting from specific people. And I was hopeful that he would talk about that in a larger capacity. But then, quite surprised when even when he did share that tweet, there was a minimal media response to it. It was sort of like, oh, well, Harley Pasternak is allowed to say that. And shame on you, Candace, for not recognizing it. But I want to be clear, that is the extent, what you just saw, of my commentary on that situation. That led to a huge reaction, calls for me to resign, calls for me to get fired for...
She's running from this point so hard. It's ridiculous.
Defending Kanye West. I want to be honest here and tell you that I was also made to endure a very severe financial consequence behind the scenes because of those words that you heard right there. And one day I will talk more about that. You have my word.
It's probably that Ye walked away from buying Parler, which would have alleviated her husband having to run like that godforsaken website.
Let's fast forward instead to 2023. I'm scrolling through Twitter, and a journalist, again, this is just a few weeks after October 7th, and a journalist...
All right, we're going to skip this part because I feel like I've been pretty clear about how her, like, pro-Palestinian position is largely a facade. I don't think that she actually cares about people in Gaza. I don't think she cares about Israel. I think she's using the entire situation for clout, for her own agenda. As a way to essentially transition her public image to make her more palatable to folks online. A good example of this would be like the day after she was fired from the Daily Wire, she co-hosted one of the big podcasts called The Breakfast Club, and yeah, I mean she's been using this entire conflict to make herself more acceptable to certain groups of more mainstream normies, you know? And it's really disheartening to see it working.
And to make me submit. Another example of that, this is rather shocking, I'm not kidding. Yesterday, a journalist, and I'm putting this into quotation marks, despite all of the debunking that I did in that long article, in that long interview with Rabbi Barclay, already was jumping on the next smear. His name is Isaac Shore. He writes for, you guessed it, Mediaite, as well as the New York Post, and he is now publicly calling to have me fired. He's written a lot of articles, by the way, and he talks to a lot of people behind the scenes, telling them not to run any pieces on Candace Owens. Don't talk about Candace Owens. This guy's like, you know, doing a real hit job here, and like a total rash.
Wait, he's doing a real hit job by encouraging other people not to talk about you? What?
Journalist, he tweeted, how long will the Daily Wire stand by Candace Owens? No one is asking the Daily Wire to stop Owens from peddling hatred and conspiracy theories. They're just wondering why it's choosing to subsidize such behavior. Yeah, totally irrational thing for a journalist to tweet. He accompanied that with an article by the same title, How Long Will the Daily Wire Stand by Candace Owens, because as you've seen, I've showed you the whole history. Aren't you
And the answer turned out to be approximately 3 more days. Ayo.
convinced yet? They've written so many articles. These psychological terrorists, they told you 1,000 times anti-Semite, so it must be true. And why would anyone hire and stand by a raging anti-Semite? They've said it so many times, guys. And he wasn't done. He wrote a second.
You literally like to tweet about drinking Christian blood. Wait, does she actually? Maybe she addresses it here. Out of curiosity, does she show that one on screen and try to make an argument for it? No, I don't think so.
Headline yesterday published on Mediaite. Maybe, I don't know, just enraged at the fact that I had to sit down and spoke rationally to Rabbi Barclay. I don't know what's driving this, but here's the headline. Candace Owens endorses wild anti-Semitic conspiracy theory about Jews being drunk on Christian blood.
Here it is.
That is the headline, you guys. You've been listening to the show. Have you ever heard me endorse a conspiracy theory about Jews being drunk on Christian blood?
I don't know for certain because I didn't read the whole thing, but I would be willing to bet if you read through the entire manifesto that she publicized to millions of people on her show about the French First Lady possibly being trans, I would go out on a limb and guess that somewhere in there is something that reaches that level of anti-Semitism based on the anti-Semitism we found in just the small snippets that we read together on stream. And also, yeah, she also liked the tweet about Jews drinking Christian blood. So, you know.
How sick and how sinister is this getting? How utterly insane this is all getting. It's starting to feel like there's some sort of a bounty on my head, and the person that can convince the public of something that is so ridiculous that I can't come back from is just going to receive a ton of money. And Isaac Shore is really competing for that, because do you want to know where he got that conspiracy theory from? A tweet that I had liked of someone defending me when Rabbi Shmuley was smearing me. He dug up an old tweet of mine that was from February, tried to present it as if it was something new and something that was about him before our back and forth ever even broke out. And so I liked the tweet.
And Candace Owens is Rabbi Shmuley is also an incredibly bad person. He's an incredibly bad person. Like, as an individual, disgusting.
Because it clarified the right date of the tweet, saying that Rabbi Shmuley, this tweet is obviously from February 20th. What are you, drunk on Christian blood? Didn't even pay attention to the last part of the tweet. I just...
What was that?
Rabbi Shmuley, this tweet is obviously...
Yeah, I think if you like this tweet, I'm not gonna lie, my read on it is that you're endorsing blood libel. You're like, there's no real way to interpret you liking this tweet other than you are endorsing one of the oldest anti-Semitic tropes. I would hazard a guess that liking this tweet might have been the thing that got Candace Owens fired. Like, might have been, like, kind of the final straw, you know? Because this being noticed by the media is damning, dude. And I think that there's a reason she only has it on screen for, like, 2 seconds.
The right date of the tweet, saying that Rabbi Shmuley, this tweet is obviously from February 20th. What are you, drunk on Christian blood? Didn't even pay attention to the last part of the tweet. I just obviously liked that this person was calling out this BS.
Oh, yeah, you didn't pay attention to the last part of the tweet. You didn't pay attention. You only paid...
Rabbi Shmuley, this tweet.
You only paid attention to the first sentence. You didn't bother to read the only other sentence on the page. And the fact that she brought it up herself... Like, her defense for this is that she literally could not be bothered to read the entire tweet. that is 2 sentences long. She's literally trying to TLDR this amount of text. Does she think we're all stupid or something? No, she thinks her audience is all stupid or something. This is, frankly, like a shocking level of just like, it is the majority of the tweet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Literally, the first sentence is just 5 words. The last one is 7. The majority of this tweet is dedicated to the anti-Semitism. Like, come on. If you're a Candace Owens fan, wake the fuck up. This is how little she thinks about you. She literally thinks you're gonna buy that she didn't look at the tweet she liked? Come on. It'd be like, this would be a plausible defense if, like, in the maelstrom of like tweets and replies and likes and whatever, she like didn't notice. Like, imagine that second sentence is just gone, right? And she just didn't notice that the account that posted it, the first sentence, like, was like dedicated to anti-Semitism or something. That's like the only case where it's like, oh, I just didn't know, would be like a valid excuse for this amount of text. But like, my audience can't read, fuck it, is really kind of her MO here.
Tweet is obviously from February 20th. What are you, drunk on Christian blood? Didn't even pay attention to the last part of the tweet. I just obviously liked that this person was calling out this BS smearing tactic. Little did I know that Isaac Shore and a team of journalists are now monitoring every single like of mine on Twitter.
Yeah. Did you not learn that after like the Hitler comments you made? Did you not learn that?
To see if they can convince the public that I am advocating for insanity. This is how desperate they have become. So I'll ask the question, what are we actually witnessing here? Do you believe Isaac Shore is a victim? Did you believe that he is a person who genuinely in his heart thinks that I think Jews are running around drinking Christian blood by that headline? Do you?
I think that you're willing to engage in that anti-Semitic trope for internet clout. Yeah. I think you're willing to use anti-Semitism when it suits you. Yeah. I don't, whether or not she believes that it's literally a thing, I don't think that makes it more, or I don't think that makes it like less anti-Semitic to engage in that trope.
Do you think that Rabbi Barclay is a victim? Do you honestly believe his interpretation that I was the one who owed the apology to him and the Jewish community on the basis that I just won't let them keep trying to smear me out of existence? Specific people in the Jewish community. God forbid, did she defend herself against Rabbi Shmuley? Do you believe Rabbi Shmuley is a victim? When you listen to these individuals speak and the things that they are publicizing, does that register to you as true victimhood? Because what it registers to me as is power. Real power hiding behind a veneer of victimhood, the kind of power that can take somebody out and end their entire career if...
Yeah, she's now engaging in like, oh yes, the Jews control media and Hollywood, and they will end your career if you cross them. She's literally just doing more anti-Semitism to double down.
That person says something that they don't like, and in this case, it's not that I'm saying things that they don't like, it's that I'm refusing to allow my voice to be controlled. I want to be clear to you guys. I'm going to be honest with you because everybody's noticing it.
I did speed up the video a little bit, KM Stas. This is at 1.25 speed.
Every single political commentator in America, every single one of them knows this, that if you do not step out and say things that are radically pro-Israel, or if you are too quiet on certain narratives and they want you to be radically pro-Israel, you can lose everything. That's truth. That is a fact. I'm not feeling like I need to hide from that anymore or be afraid to say it, rather, is a better way to say it, because I've endured this for years. I'm just at the end of my rope. I have given so much rope here, and I'm just done with it. Every person that you are a fan of, they know this. Every person that you line up to go here speak, they know this. Again, it's not even on the basis of what you say. It can sometimes be on the basis of what you don't say. That an entire mob will assemble, you'll write piece after piece after piece until you subjugate. If you don't subjugate, the bounty grows larger. So yes, there is a large bounty on my head for the crime of refusing to suddenly hate Muslims.
What bounty is on your head? There's no bounty. That's not how any of this works.
And to condone Muslims getting bombed following October 7th. Everybody can see that. I have said nothing controversial because genuinely I was sad when a bunch of innocent Israelis were murdered and killed in horrific acts. And genuinely, I am sad when a bunch of innocent Palestinians, and yes, they do exist, Brian Mast, are now being made to endure bombing and all sorts of other horrific things that we are all seeing on Twitter. That is my crime. Everybody can see that. It's ridiculous to pretend that it's anything else, okay? There's no language that I have used. There's nothing insane that I have said other than I would like to treat all races the same. I refuse to be a supremacist. I refuse to condone supremacy. That is my crime. So I want to do here.
Wow, see, notice what she did there? Notice that she took a tweet where she liked a statement about Jews getting drunk on Christian blood, and she then, like, used Israel-Palestine to try and deflect from that. She literally used, like, the starvation of, like, millions of children and the slaughter of tens of thousands in order to deflect from, like, her anti-Semitism. It's crazy. And this is why, like, I find her particularly odious, using the conflict this way.
For all of you guys that are worried that something's going to happen to me, is to just provide this full accounting of everything that I've ever done, everything that I've ever said that has been deemed controversial from this mafia, right? This mafia of journalists that will not let up and leave me alone. Because that's what it is. What is it? What else could it possibly be? You're acting like a mafia. You are threatening me. You are taking my words out of context. You are telling people to fire me.
Yeah, they're really taking your words out of context here by posting your words
on the basis that I just won't be radical, on the basis that I won't hate on command. It's not about love, it's about hate. You want me to hate on command. And I want to be clear that what these journalists are engaging in is evil. It is absolute evil to do this to any person. And I'm not going.
Yeah, how dare they pay attention to the things you say and do as a political operative and public figure. Crazy that anyone would pay attention to you with your millions of subscribers.
I'm going to be driven crazy by it. In fact, I'm going to be driven to more clarity by it. I'm going to grow stronger from this. I'm going to be a person that is more encouraged to speak out on what is happening to me. I want the public to see what is happening to me because I think they know my heart and they know that what I'm actually doing is refusing hatred. Balance of nature fruits and veggies is the most convenient way to get whole.
God.
Said horrible things about me, but so what? I thought this video was interesting and I'm going to show you Candace. I saw this video, by the way, further to that point of Anna Kasparian. Her and I have basically been on the opposite sides of everything for our entire career. She has said horrible things about me, but so what? I thought this video was interesting and I'm going to show you what she said regarding AIPAC.
AIPAC is evil. AIPAC is evil, evil. My fellow Americans, are you okay with that? Are you okay with a lobbying group representing the best interests of a foreign government telling you you need to bust your ass every day, work a job that you likely hate, and have a portion of your earnings taken from you by our federal government and funneled to the Israeli government so they can commit atrocities in the Gaza Strip? Are you okay with that? Because I'm not okay with that. And nothing gets under my skin more, okay, than hearing these pieces of crap say things that make it clear that they feel entitled to our money. Entitled. That gets under my skin more than you guys understand, okay?
That's an impassioned response, and what she's referring to there.
She's not wrong about that.
There are some leaked documents from an AIPAC meeting. AIPAC, of course, alongside Big Pharma, is one of the biggest lobbying organizations in the United States. They lobby our congressmen, and I'm certain that that includes journalists, because if you have a budget like AIPAC, why wouldn't you be lobbying journalists as well to essentially always fight to have pro-Israel narratives? And again, I want to be clear, I am not anti-Israel. This is what is so wild about all of this. I'm just not anti-Palestinian. And so I hear what she is saying, and I believe that what is happening right now in this country politically is an evil. It is wrong. It is completely ridiculous to have a bunch of people that are fearful to speak and say rational things that they know to be true, because they know they can lose everything. Because they know that a bunch of journalists will pop up like a game of whack-a-mole and try to spin things that you have said to make them much more nefarious than what you actually intended when you say them, because they know that these journalists have power.
Yeah, look, you didn't intend to be nefarious when you said that, you know, Hitler's nationalism was okay until it expanded beyond the borders of Nazi Germany. You didn't intend that to be taken the wrong way. Sure. But people with ears could hear what you said. They can't hear the intent, but they could hear what you said.
Because they know that these journalists will not stop the onslaught. And eventually, people are going to cave. I can't tell you guys how wrong this is. It is so wrong that every fiber of my being now wants to expose this. I want to invite each and every journalist that is going to continue to engage with me in this way onto my show. So Isaac Shore, take this as a public invite for you to come down.
Just a reminder that she no longer has this show. So good luck getting on the Candace Owens podcast.
Down to sit with me and to explain to everybody why you really believed that I think Jews drink Christian blood. You wrote that article because you really believe it. You're actually a good guy. I'm sure you are. I'm going to sit here quietly. I'm going to allow you to explain yourself, why you have written so many articles about me, and why you believe.
Yeah, you endorse. I believe that Candace Owens endorsed an anti-Semitic tweet, and I do not believe that she didn't read the second sentence and the majority of the tweet in question. I don't believe her excuse, and I think it's pretty obvious what she intended there. She's just upset that she got caught with her hand in the cookie jar.
That I have to be fired. Did you actually believe, as you've written in past articles, that people like me and Tucker Carlson were anti-Semites? Further to that note, further to me believing that the solution to all of this is simply daylight being the best of disinfectants, I have publicly offered to Rabbi Barclay, who wants me to watch the IDF footage, that not only will I watch the footage, but I am challenging him to use his contacts to also get me a trip to Israel and Gaza. Allow me to be a reporter on the ground. People feel like they're being propagandized about the matter one way or the other. So why not send somebody who I think I've earned the trust of the American public? I'm not someone that will ever be bought and paid for.
I've earned the trust of the American public. Bitch, most people don't even know who you are. It's just politically brain-poisoned people like us.
I'm not someone that will ever say things that I know to be untrue. Why not allow me to go? I'll talk to IDF shoulders, I'll talk to Netanyahu, but I also want to speak to people that are impacted by this in Gaza. I want to see what's going on in Gaza. Why not allow someone like me to go there? And I've offered that I will bring other journalists that I...
Yeah. I don't think they're allowing any journalists into Rafah right now. I'm sorry about that, but I don't think that's happening.
I think are middle of the line, not one way or the other, simply reporting on the matters and similarly having to endure a bunch of threats and
literally QETP. Like, she's like, yes, you're a rabbi. You must have connections to get me an interview with Netanyahu. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Bunch of smears. People like my friend, who's just a commentator, Dave Smith, a Jewish person who is now being told that he's a self-hating Jew because he won't get in line and, I don't know, deliver the AIPAC talking points. People have a right to know what is going on, especially when it is so significant that you're willing to take out people for not saying the right thing. So my offer stands. Anybody who wants to write an article or smear me or libel me, you are invited to this show. Hopefully, they'll take up my offer. Hopefully.
Or just the aid trucks being blocked. Like, she could physically cross the border, get in and out.
In a few weeks, I will be out to Israel and I will be out to Gaza, and I will be able to report to you guys what it is that I actually see. But I also want to say this because it's so important. I am Team God. Okay? I'm Team God. I do not fear the media. I do not fear journalists. I do not fear AIPAC. I don't fear Big Pharma. What I actually fear is God. I think that one day we are all going to have to account for the things that we have done and the things that we have said. And I want to make sure that I am not a person that is parroting lies. the fear of losing your job, encouraging some people to spit out lies, I don't think that works in the end, right? I think you got to check your priorities. And so,
Yeah, she's just a little birthday girl, guys. It's her birthday. You should let her off the hook for the anti-Semitism. It's her birthday.
with that said, I want to thank everybody who has been on this journey with me, people that have supported me. I especially want to thank all of the Jewish people that have been in the comments saying how outraged they are. And I know that it is especially difficult for you guys right now because you are being smeared, you know? I mean, I'm not going to go away. I'm going to use my God-given voice to talk about the things that are important for me.
Yeah, no one ever light chains. I love that. Nobody ever did bad things while saying God is on their side.
I'm just asking to be left alone, or at least just report the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is all the time that we
Yeah, how dare Media Matters just quote the things she said.
have for today. But don't worry, because we will see you tomorrow for a brand new episode.
My goodness. So, yeah, that is currently the state of the Republican, civil war that's been going on. People are just shouting Christ is king at each other and denying anti-Semitism while full-on dog whistling, dog pan fluting. I don't know. What is a stronger version of a whistle? She's such a gross person. She really is. She's really disgusting, you know? But I am glad to see them fight. You know, it is the weakness of their division fuels me, and it makes me have more hope for the future, frankly. I think that their conflict is our gain. Foghorning, I like that.